Everybody, let's take a look at the markets starting off. All right, so the way I've set up on the top row, there are two rows. The top row is the daily, then the hourly, and then Renko. Bottom row is the 15 minute, the 2 minute, and the PNF. The way it works is on top here in the middle, you have the hourly, and you combine that with a 2 minute. All right, so the hourly with a 2 minute. So higher time frame, lower time frame. Yes, 2 minutes is very low, but it works. And over here you have the daily and the 15 minute. So daily with the 15 and then the 60 minute with the 2 minute. All right, now what else? So over here, what do we see going on with the ES? You have a breakdown indicated by BD right there. It's a breakdown. You had follow through, and there's a lot of volume here, and that was enough volume to create a bounce to test the breakdown. And obviously that's where the pressure is going to be. And that's where you had the reversal, right? And what was the other thing that was telling you is when you see this green, 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 you see how the ranges are decreasing. That's an indication. The ranges are an indication when they start shortening. The thrust is an indication from high to high to high to high. You have shortening of the thrust. You have smaller ranges, and oh yeah, and the volume. So you can see green, 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 and what happens? It's it's diminishing. So that is not bullish, right? When you have pullbacks, that's what you want to look for. You want to look for clustered closes, shortening of the thrust, and volume diminishing or quote unquote tapering off. So I was seeing this and knew that what it's doing is getting ready to test the breakdown on the daily. That's what is basically going on here. All right, now moving on to the hourly to see what happened and how it reacted. All right. So you had these breakouts, but they're not going anywhere. And then finally, you had the breakdown with follow through, creating a lower low. This breakdown had the biggest price volume action, biggest price action, meaning biggest distance, meaning biggest size in 8 waves, and the biggest volume in 15 waves. So that right there is your selling pressure. And then what happened? Just like the daily did a test, the hourly did a test. The same concept of break and test. Break from this area, creating the lower low. Because it had a breakdown with follow through, it goes back to test the breakdown. Right? Because that follow through that makes it very likely that the market will just test the breakdown. Whereas the second case, after it makes that lower low, it has a breakdown, but the breakdown doesn't have good follow through. What does that mean? That means the liquidity is not there. Not the liquidity, but whatever. The selling pressure is not there. All right, the selling pressure is not there. So what are they going to do? They're going to take the market back up. When you have breakdowns and they don't have good follow through, then the market is subject to the risk of having a upthrust, and that's exactly what happened right here. What you have is an upthrust. Why does that occur? Typically, two things will occur when you have a breakdown that does not have good follow through with trend. I'm saying this in the context of trend. Otherwise, this is a downtrend, so that's why the breakdown makes a lot of sense to me. If there's an uptrend, there's a different interpretation because it can be in a spring position on a higher time frame, but I'm not going to go into that. Here you have a downtrend. You see the market broke down, tested, then made a lower low, but it's not ready to go. Why? The selling pressure's just not there. So what are they going to do? They're going to take the market higher. When they take the market higher, the only question is it going to go to the origin of the move where you have the high bar, this high bar, and test the high bar, meaning test the resistance? Or is it going to go above it and creating an upthrust? In this case, it created an upthrust, and that upthrust was nasty, meaning it's a legit upthrust. Why? You can very clearly see the size, the low and close. It took out the low and closed below the prior bar. Even on a lower time frame, you can see the supply and bang, bang, bang. So I mean, this is bearish. There's no. I mean, here's another view. Even from a wave chart perspective, the volume here is 63. The volume up there is 5. So, you know, this thing, I mean, yeah, it can upthrust again and all that, but I mean, you cannot argue that this is bearish price action, price and volume action, and the forecast is lower. All right, because it went up there, the and selling pressure came, rejected the high, big bar down, perfect upthrust on the hourly on the ES. All right, so yeah, I'm not gonna do the counts. Maybe I should do the counts for the upthrust. So the count is, where's the selling? Selling is probably here from, ooh, at least here. It's about, bum bum bum, bum bum, 4 4 5 6. Yeah, all right. So that's basically at least a pullback down to the support area. So on the hourly, we have enough cause in this upthrust that I just showed right here on the PNF chart to go at least to the hourly support, at least. So that's, it's going to go down. That's what the point figure is projecting, at least a test of those lows, and it's not that far away. I mean, it's, now the question is when it goes down and how much the bounce is, and if it's going to redistribute and then break down some more, right? So don't want to get it too into that. Let's go instead and take a look at crude. For crude, this market is setting up. Why? You have a daily uptrend, hourly uptrend, and then you have this breakout right here on crude. See that the breakout, and it had good fall through, and now it's getting ready to test the breakout. This BO right here in the hourly, right? Because obviously the breakouts on the daily, right? But it's too much risk, and you can see very clearly you have a nice breakout against this area, and the market is going down and it's getting ready to test. So this is going to be a good opportunity. So let it come back and we'll see if it tests and if it goes below or what happens on this test. What I want to see is it test. I want to see change of behavior. I want to see climactic action. I want to see cause develop. And there's one little tip off. If you can see right here, and this is why Renko is also very important, it very clearly shows me where in that breakout area there's a high volume brick. That high volume brick, there should be some reaction there. So this brick right here, I have the rank of with volume, is I'm looking for a price to go to that brick, and I want to see how it reacts because that is the breakout on the hourly. I want to see, and I want to see that specific level within that brick, within that breakout, right? That's what I think the reaction is going to be. But I have to see what happens there, where cause and all that. Cause has to develop, and there has to be a turn. All right, where else? We got gold. Let's take a look at gold. This market is I can't put my finger on it because you see over here it has a very nice breakdown. But I just can't put my finger on it because what the hell? Like it looks weird. It just looks weird. Um, let me see. Okay, I mean it's expected because right here you had that brick. See that brick, big red right there? You have big red, and it tested, and then when it tested, it fell. So I get that action. It makes sense to me. Right? So I can't really tell too much here. So Renko doesn't tell me much. Let me see the volume signature here is 585. 141, 203. Test the high brick. Never mind. So on the daily, I can't tell anything either. I mean, already had gone through the spring and showed how it's set up. So this is a valid spring and how the, all of that's set up. And I mean, it's not in upthrust position, so I shouldn't even consider it, right? Forget it, script it. Because the thing is, you want to make sure you have your process always in mind and you're always following it instead of like trying to figure things out, right? So here we had it a spring position. It moved up a little bit, but it was a day trade basically. So if I want to short it, I want to see some type of upthrust position, and it's not on the daily, it's not on the hourly. So what's the point? It's just not there. So who cares, right? All right, so forget this market. All right, let's go to yeah, you can also like use different POIs and all of that, but that'll just create inconsistency. You want to stick with one POI or one level, whether it's a demand zone or supply zone. One setup also, believe me, if you want to create consistency, you have to make everything one process, one setup, and your eyes will automatically start looking only for that thing and building intuition around it. Separate point, but you get the idea. Um, Copper. All right, this market. It didn't spring. It's getting oh yeah, yeah, it did spring on the ooh, it did spring on the daily. It did a spring on the daily. What the hell is this? And there was a demand and all that came and flew. 15 minute, the selling pressure up there. Anyway, so the question is there an upthrust? No. Is there a spring? No. Man, forget about it. If you miss it on the daily, you could always jump in on the hourly. So that's why I have it set up like this, because I can't catch them all, but you don't want to. I mean, you could catch it on the hourly, right? So right here, I'm watching this, and this right here is an attempted breakout that does not look good. Check this out. It went right to the breakout level, right? And it got sold off. Check that out. See that? So it went right to the breakout level. And this is funny. It it made a higher high. Then it makes this lower low that almost stops these guys out. Um, um, Almost springs this. It actually would have been a good trade if it sprung it. Like, okay. So it makes the higher high, pulls back one, two, three to test, but doesn't spring. It basically just tests above support. And then it goes and attempts a breakout of the high. As it attempts a breakout of the high, yeah, right there, right? It's funny. It breaks out. As soon as it breaks out here, it gets sold. You know, but the thing is, however you consider this, when it gets sold, it's little bars, right? So I'd be cautious because when you see selling and it's little bars like that, it means the strength of selling is weak. And all these little bars go all the way back, and then all of a sudden you have a retest and it flies. At the same time, so that's from a bullish perspective. From a bearish perspective, if you take a look at the price volume action, and don't look at the bars and only look at the waves, you have big price volume selling here, right? So, and it's in a test, break, test, but it shouldn't test on that much price volume on the pullback. You want a low volume pullback, not a high volume pullback. So anyway, just wait for it. Just wait. When it's clear, you'll know it's clear, and then whatever. All right, that's all I got. So what does this all boil down to? Watch crude on this pullback to the breakout, and yes, look out below. That's all I gotta say. Look out below. Up thrust. That high was rejected. All right. So at least I want to see what happens at support. From the lower time frames, though, you can see. I mean, it's a little too low. You know, over here is like a 2 minute chart, but you can very clearly see the supply and more supply, and the up waves are weak. They are weak. There's no buying pressure at all. On the 15 minute, what the hell is going on here? On 15 minute, I mean, you see right here. I just I'll make it simpler. Right here is the sign of weakness. We have the selling pressure right there. Then the up thrust right there. The rejection, look at that big bar, causes the move down. Attempt to go higher, makes a slightly higher high, but not good enough. And so it goes lower. So this high was rejected right here. Anyway, we'll see what happens. Again, watch crude. Hourly looking really, and on the ES hourly looking very bearish. Very bearish, very clear downtrend, lower low, and all that. Now Monday may bounce, but I'm not really sure how much of a bounce it's going to get because of this clear rejection right here. You see that up thrust. It's not a good sign. Even the volume is. Let me see the total volume, because if we look at the total volume, it's significant. 1 second. Ooh, where did I have it? That's 144. That is a lot of volume there. Anyway, we'll find out later. Okay, have a good evening. Bye.